Well, day number 2, the first part of it anyway, has come to a conclusion. St. John's and Marquette went into overtime by a score of 72-70. Marquette came out on top. Alongside Storm the Paint's Kevin Connelly, Joey Jarzynka on hand with you from the floor of Madison Square Garden. And we'll recap the first game before we get into, of course, UConn and Providence, which was the marquee game in that first, or rather in that second session of the tournament. Kev, we look back at St. John's and we say to ourselves it was kind of a quote-unquote carbon copy of what happened a season ago against Villanova. Was it or was it not? Your thoughts?
No, it was just about the same exact game that St. John's had in the quarterfinals last year against Villanova. In that game, they went up by 17 in the second half and ultimately choked it away down the stretch. Had a chance to win it, had a chance to tie it late against Villanova and couldn't come through. In this game, it was pretty much the same thing. They went up by 14 in the first half, 10-point lead at halftime, and it took Marquette less than 5 minutes to take the lead coming out of halftime. And give St. John's credit. They battled back. A 9-0 run to take a 7-point lead, 47-40. But as Marquette then ripped off a 10-0 run to go back and forth, two teams traded buckets back and forth down the stretch. St. John's eventually able to get the game to overtime. Maybe shouldn't even have been in overtime to begin with. And then they just couldn't get a stop and couldn't make a field goal in overtime.
Looking at the individual players, though, from the Red Storm, Kev, you look at players by the names of, the Joel Sorianos, but we really haven't spoken about Dylan Adewusu that much. He played his tail off today.
He really did. He's been one of St. John's best players over these past couple weeks to end the season. And again, you saw it here today. I think he scored 11 of the last 14 points in regulation for St. John's just to give them a chance. He had a 5-0 run in the end of the second half to put them back in front. And then obviously he had that coast-to-coast layup to tie the game at 61 with 4.5 seconds left.
Yeah, really tough go, but then you also look on the other side, though. Marquette, again, they just continuously battle back. They couldn't get it going in the first half, but again, it's those second half adjustments that St. John's simply cannot get done.
Yeah, I don't want to say Marquette was overwhelmed by the moment in that first half because it didn't seem like that, although they continually just missed shots. I want to give credit to St. John's defense because it felt like in the half court they really made Marquette work for everything, and you saw that when St. John's ripped off an 18-2 run. I think Marquette had a stretch where they didn't score for 7 or 9 minutes in that first half, so I want to give St. John's a lot of credit on the defensive side of the ball in that first half. But then in the second half, you knew Marquette was going to make a run. You knew they were going to come out swinging, and it just didn't look like St. John's was prepared for it. But Tyler Kolek scoreless in the first half, and then he showed why he was the Big East Player of the Year in the second half.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Also, of course, we bring up the names about David Joplin, too. 6th Man of the Year award, too. He played a big part in it, as did also Iguodaro and Omax Prosper in the beginning of the game when we were actually sitting next to each other and we said, oh, look, Omax Prosper, yet again, this is what he does night in and night out here for Marquette. But shifting over to the next game, UConn and Providence, it was a blowout, or that's what we thought it would be, a blowout. And then eventually Providence began to pull off a few runs. 73-66 was the score in favor of UConn, but again, give a lot of credit to Providence, though, because they were down by as much as 26 points, and they slowly came back to as little as just 5.
Yeah, this building was alive for the UConn and Providence game, as we expected. Finishing up some stuff with the St. John's game, you come out of the media room, you look up at the scoreboard, and you see that this game might be over, and Connecticut continuing to roll, Providence continuing to struggle. But again, like you said, you have to give credit to Ed Cooley and this Friar bunch. They battled their tails off the midway point of the second half on. They had themselves a chance to win, just couldn't come up with a big-time stop when they really needed it.
We've spoken time in and time out again, Kevin, about Jordan Hawkins. What a job he has done. And then you even look at Andre Jackson, too, who played a crucial part in today's victory.
Well, I think those could be 2 NBA players next year. For Jordan Hawkins, for his pure shooting ability, he came up with that big bucket for UConn down the stretch that was able to push their lead back out to a comfortable margin. And for Andre Jackson, he might be the best athlete in college basketball, period. He might be one of the best athletes in the NBA if he was in the NBA right now, period. So obviously he still has a lot to work on in terms of his outside shooting, in terms of his shot-making ability to perform at the next level, but he has the athleticism to play in the NBA tomorrow if he wants to.
Kevin, there was also another player that we didn't really even talk about. His name was Tristan Newton, too. What a job he did. 16 points.
Well, that's the biggest thing for Connecticut, and my biggest issue with them coming into this tournament and coming into the season at whole is how are they going to perform at the point guard position? Because when they've struggled this year, that's where they've struggled, at the point guard role. And Tristan Newton, I mean, if he's going to score the ball like that consistently throughout March, UConn's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And again, just from a season ago, too, it was R.J. Cole who was the main ball facilitator. And then we saw Dan Hurley go with Hassan Diarra, too, at the point to start things off. So, of course, Kevin will be he'll be coming back with us later on tonight for a full recap and an instant reaction. Another one later on after the Villanova-Creighton game and DePaul Xavier. Right here from the floor, it's Kevin Connelly alongside Joey Jarzynka. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you all later on tonight after session number 3 here from the 2023 Big East Tournament.